Put a piece out to you guys. Alex Pereira interested in fighting Jon Jones. Jon Jones possibly interested in fighting Alex Pereira. My source is impenetrable. All right. Well, I got a call. I got a call after this piece comes out. That's all true. But it's not happening. The source then lets me know, no, wait a minute. That is all of interest, and we would love to have those talks, but Pereira has in fact agreed to fight Ankalaev, and he's going to fight him in October. Now, there's a lot of stuff that comes out, guys, and I just got off an airplane, I came back from an event, and I don't know what has been released to you guys or not. I have not checked, but there's a chance that I'm breaking news. I'm not breaking news guy. I don't care to break news, I don't have to be in front of it, but there's a chance that I am. I don't know that you have been told who the main event of the October pay-per-view is. Perhaps you just got that from me, perhaps right now. And it's an interesting one. I don't know that Pereira has a fan bigger than me. I do believe that he's got fans equal to me, but I admire so many things that Pereira does. Largely because they're the exact things that Sean O'Malley does. Like, I watched Pereira and O'Malley fighting each other. They have been fighting for 2 years to try to be the face of the UFC. And one of them was. It's very arguable by what numbers you look at who the bigger star was, O'Malley or Pereira. It's very arguable. And then all of a sudden, they're now in the same path, where they both, while stars, don't have belts, and they both have a foil in front of them that appears to just be that weird matchup that's not going to change no matter how many camps you go. There's just this guy in the bracket. Okay. I don't know what about the Ankalaev fight anybody wants to see again. I don't know what about the Ankalaev fight left us with any questions. I don't know what about the Ankalaev fight would lead a reasonable person to believe we're going to have a different outcome. It wasn't a dirty fight. It wasn't a controversial fight. There wasn't storylines going into this or coming out of it in terms of, hey, listen, man, I was out there fighting. I didn't tell him, but I had a broken rib, and let me get back in there. I couldn't even breathe. Put me back in there. It's the only thing. And that is a real thing in sport. Very uncommon. Usually something people say is an excuse from PR. Every now and then, and I mean extremely randomly, you actually feel as an athlete, you go, no, that was just do this again. I felt what I needed to feel. That will never happen again. I promise you. And have it actually be true. But those things just weren't really there. And when you have a star like Pereira, it was risky to put him in there with Unk in the first place. Now, it was the right thing to do. And that's what you do over here. You take risks. You don't get protected. Nobody. Even your biggest star, which either was Pereira or O'Malley, and both of them went into the last contest as underdogs. Like, the UFC knew what they were getting. It didn't matter. The brand promised that the best fight the best, period, held up. But now that we've done that, now that we've paid attention to the integrity of the rankings, now that we've given the right guy his rightful opportunity, there has not been any effort to move on. Now, you're not going to find an exception. Nobody at the UFC has talked about anything other than Ankalaev versus Pereira. Ankalaev himself has not spoke about anybody other than a rematch with Pereira, which was a little bit surprising, by the way, just not commonly how that's done. And full respect to Ankalaev for doing that. But unusual as hell. And not one 205-pounder has said, I get the shot. Me and you, Unk. So, I guess it would then lead us, by proxy of elimination of all other options, it would lead us to understand that it's Pierre versus Ankalaev. I'm telling you now, it's Pierre versus Ankalaev. If you understood who it's Pierre versus Ankalaev, and it's going down in October. But is that the right match? And there's not a lot that you can do with Pereira or should do with Pierre aside for fighting for world championships. I don't dispute that at all. And not everything has to be a big draw with a big storyline. You got two guys that are barking at each other and had a pass. Like, not everything has to be that way, but it is that way for Pierre right now. Pierre is red damn hot. He's got the right to be red damn hot. And he's got a lot of things that he can do. If Ankalaev was to fight Pierre, for example, that's the biggest fight that Ankalaev could get. There's nobody at 205 right now that's bigger than Pierre. And Ankalaev, who's paid on pay-per-view points and he wants to make some money as well as show his skills, is very right and correct to go after the biggest fight, which is Pierre. I'm just sharing for you. While that's the biggest fight, it's not that big of a fight. And while the biggest opportunity for Pierre, which is a world championship, it's not the biggest fight that Pierre can get. Pierre could go up right now against Aspinall if Pierre loses to Ankalaev a second time. Make no mistake, Pierre will now be a heavyweight and he will be an instant contender. If they wanted to give him the world title, they could. They probably would have him do one in between and then right back to it. But at 205, that's not true. If Pierre loses to Ankalaev, he can fight 3 more times at 205. He's not fighting for the belt again. Not as long as Ankalaev's still there. So it's just an interesting matchup. I'm curious about the matchup. I'm curious how we got here. I'm curious to your guys' thoughts. Am I wrong? Do I not have my thumb on this? Which would shock me. I don't know that I've ever had a different opinion than you guys in terms of what we want to see, but tell me. I read the comments. Was there something in Pierre versus Ankalaev that made you go, hey, wait a minute. Show me that for 5 more rounds. I bet you get a different result. Do you love the idea of Pierre and Ankalaev so much? Because don't forget, if your boy Pierre wins, which the only reason we set this fight up is so that Pierre could win. If that wasn't the reason to set it up, we don't need to do the fight. They've already fought. So if Pierre beats Ankalaev, do you like that matchup enough that you want to see it for 10 more rounds? Because if you're telling me you think that Pierre is going to win, then you're telling me you want to see it for 10 more rounds. Because now they're one apiece. You got to go to the rubber match. You don't have to go to part 2. You have to go to part 3 if you split the outcomes of 1 and 2. Pierre is trying to fight Jon Jones. Tom Aspinall needs a partner for what I believe to be Madison Square Garden. Jayton Almeida cannot sell Madison Square Garden. So Real Gone is not the right draw for Madison Square Garden. It makes Pierre very interesting, but that's not the direction that he's going. He's going in against Ankalaev. Is that the fight that you wanted to see?